you.
Lunch break.
Welcome to lunch break, everybody. Grab your drink, grab your snacks.
That was smooth, Justin.
Yes, grab them and join us for lunch break. And as always, like and share. We are not ashamed to ask you guys to share what's going on at lunch break with your friends.
Yeah, we're excited to have Jim Luff with us today on our show, and excited to talk with him. But Justin, I'm glad to see that you have vitamin water, because
I do.
You've been sick, dude. What's up with that?
I've been out, so I haven't been here. Thank you. Shout out to Tom Hollenbeck for covering for me.
For you.
I went to camp.
And John Rizzo.
And John Rizzo won, yes.
Yeah.
I went out to camp with the kids,
you know that,
and it was coming for me.
He wants your
coming
job.
for me, but I'm here to stay. And we went to camp with the kids, and everyone got sick in some form, and I caught like a little cold or something, and came back not ready to come back to work. So it's been hard watching this show and not being on it. It is not. It's not easy.
You're probably that anonymous critic, right?
Yes. And I'm like, it's so hard.
Justin's trolling us.
Yes, but and then Tom called me out on how unhealthy I am. So I came rocking the vitamin water to let you guys know that I'm not dying. So take that, Tom.
Yeah.
But
so we have our merchandise in. Justin's sporting the Army green.
We got the Army green shirt right here.
I'm sporting the black. And we have something we want to give our guests today. This is the first ever. As we have our merch, all of our guests, and if you've out there and been a guest on Lunch Break, we'll be getting you one of these shirts. But there you go, Jim.
You will be receiving one.
Jim asked, do I have to take off my shirt and put it on?
I did ask that, but I guess you don't want me to take my shirt off, Pastor Tom? No,
that's not family show.
You actually hesitated too long on the question.
Yeah, I thought about it.
I had that silence. I'm like, silence isn't good on the show, but that's awesome.
You will see me sporting this tomorrow. Wait, is tomorrow Friday?
Yeah.
No, I'll sport this on Saturday,
all
around town, so we can get some promotion for your show.
Take a selfie with it and send it to us.
Absolutely.
We do have a couple of prize winners that I know. Mike Harvey, our producer, and then Seth Parker, our executive producer. We'll make sure that our winners get a shirt, right, guys? Seth Parker gave me a thumbs up.
Double thumbs up. They are a lot. Get more coffee in them today.
We actually did a little behind scenes today, and Jim Luff would encourage me with that because he has several shows that he does that with. And
yes.
And so we did a little behind scenes. We posted on lunch break. So check out Seth and Mike, what they kind of do for us.
Yeah.
We are an Encourage Media production, and we can't do it without the team. I want to give a shout out to Tessa and Taylor Touchstone. They're our creative consultants. And
always important to recognize the people behind the scenes.
Yes, the
people behind the scenes make things happen.
Because, really, there's not a lot of talent in this. I got to say that,
all the talent is behind the set.
All the talent's behind the set because they're the ones that make it happen. So we're so happy to have Jim with us. And the question that came in last week from our audience
about this one
is, we had John Bateau. He was a great guest. He's president of Bakersfield Christian High School. And one of the most amazing things that John told me, and Jim, you might find this kind of ironic, but John Bateau, who's spent his whole life in education, private education, said he's never talked about parenting. And I go, well, you got to be an expert on good and not so good parenting. And he told me that. And I go, well, you need to do a little more of that because he has some great ideas.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you a funny story. We'll talk a little bit more about current partnership for children and families later. But I met a pair of kids that was in foster care, and they touched my life so much that I spoke to my wife about adopting them. Now, we didn't actually end up adopting them, but I do remember going to the Department of Human Services and asking the director, what do I need to do to adopt these kids? And she said, well, it begins with going to parenting classes. And I said, parenting classes? I have 4 children and I have 10 grandchildren. I wrote the book on parenting.
You've got work experience. You got on-the-job training.
I do have on-the-job training. And she said, no, it's not like that. It's to learn how to work with your foster kids' Medi-Cal benefits and government benefits. And I told her, I'm not talking about being a foster parent. I'm talking about adopting these children. They'll be on my Blue Cross plan. The county won't support them in any way. They will be mine.
You weren't renting. You were going to own.
Yes. We might talk more about that later, how that came to be. But anyway.
I love
Awesome.
that. I love that. And so as the question came in from you guys in many different fashions, John Bateau has talked about how they operated as a family. And he said he saw a lot of good parenting things and some things that needed a little assistance or help. And he adopted a family night. Now, right now, Lauren and Eric's at UCLA, and Lauren, Lauren, I'm sorry, I forgot where she's going. She's going to, in Notre Dame, going to Maynard University. So he says what they did as a family night is they played games. So I'm going to jump in on that because the question from our audience is, what would you suggest for a family night? So I'm going to jump in on games because my daughter, Taylor, my oldest daughter, Taylor, who is a consultant for us on the show, thank you, Taylor, got us into games. And so I jumped in on John Bateau's thing, but I'm not telling you I'm probably the best example at games because my kids won't play a Monopoly with me.
And that's the number one family game.
It is because I play to win.
Amen to that.
I didn't get the rules because I would buy up stuff and they go, Dad, you can't do that. I go, well, show me the rules where it says I can't
Be
do
in it to win it.
And so they were like, well, you play too aggressive, you're mean. Mm-hmm. And so they boycotted playing Monopoly with me. And I don't know if they play it behind my back. I don't know if Tiffany and the girls get together and play it behind my back. But they do play other games with me. We play one, and it's called Codename. And it's really kind of a cool game because you get to give one clue, and there's some cards on the table, and you get to kind of do it. So we did it on vacation, and we have a new player in the family, my daughter's fiance, Danny.
Yes.
So Danny's an engineering student at Fresno State last year, actually, and pretty smart kid.
Yeah.
So I just got to give Danny a shout out. I beat you every time.
Oh, still, I did. Still the king. Huh?
But see, Monopoly, I mean, if they played with Dad, they could use Dad's financial strategies to propel themselves in life.
Yes.
I mean, and learn through the game of why Dad buys all these properties.
Yes, I just don't like to go to jail.
No, nobody likes to go to jail.
Because I was like, was there a hint there in the future?
Yeah.
But the kids are. So we do that. My wife and I have something kind of unique. Because I tell people all the time, consider date nights. And it really helped my wife and I.
Sure.
When it came down to being empty nesters. Mm-hmm. But my wife, we changed the rules. And so I tell people you need date nights. But my wife is now a superintendent of a school district, and my job is demanding. And so sometimes our date nights start off with us getting ready. And pretty soon, somebody will look at each other and go, do you really want to do this?
Oh.
And then it becomes, well, if you do. And so our time together now sometimes is just now relaxing, staying home, and doing something like watching a movie together.
With each other.
Yes. And so, I don't know if it's just because, we're older or what it is, but I recommend date nights, family nights, because it keeps you connected.
Sure.
Yes. For us, we just implemented this one. So we had a TV in our playroom for our kids, and we thought it would be used like, okay, if we want them not in the living room, they can watch a movie in the game room. But we noticed very quickly the kids want to be where we're at, and we're watching a movie, we're watching the kids' movie. So we did this switch. And then me and Cass wanted to be able to sit down and watch an adult show together, because right now our whole lineup is Disney
happen
Channel. When
you have kids under 7?
It just happens. So I know all of the new kid shows, but don't know any of the new adult movies. So we go, okay, let's put the TV in our room, and we'll do a family movie night with them. But on other nights, we can actually watch a show in here together by ourselves. So we did our first family movie night. It was wonderful. We just put Disney Plus on the TV, and got popcorn, candy, laid all the kids in our bed, sat back, and it's the funnest thing we've done in a long time.
Awesome.
We're going to do it. We're going to repetitively do this. And the kids are just in love that they get to sit with mom and dad on our bed, which is they love our bed, period. They sneak in at nights. So we sit on our bed. The only thing we learned is we're going to have to keep a vacuum shampooer in there and everything, because that first night, so many popcorn crumbs all over our bed. I was like, oh, I'm going to get bit tonight by something. And but it's so worth it, so fun. So you just got to clean up afterwards, but it is the greatest thing ever. We turned our room into a movie theater, and it was so fun.
I love that. You got to have family time.
Yes, so fun.
Some of my biggest memories. Jim, did you and your children ever make tents
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
in the living room, in the backyard, in bedrooms,
My
with
kids-
blankets.
Taylor and Tessa, we would do that, and my wife didn't see the excitement in it because
Oh.
she saw the chaos.
Yes.
What are all the blankets doing
Yeah.
now? How come the couch is close to the dining room
Yes,
table?
you got it.
I think my wife felt the same, about destroying the living room temporarily.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm getting really hot in here, so I just wanted to let you know I might have to use this. I'll wash it before I use it.
The lunch break shirt doubles as a handkerchief.
I
you guys.
watched
It's
one of your
okay.
producers go run to get me water right now.
There we go.
Oh, that's
Yes, the
great.
great team we have.
Yeah. So, while you're talking about family time, when my kids were growing up, we always had Monday night designated as a family night.
I love
and
that.
and you had to be there. I mean, if you're part of my family, you had to be there. And one of the reasons that we did that is, when you have 4 kids that are playing in sports or they're in drama or they're in band or whatever, there's always transportation needs that come up. There's homework that needs assistance. There's a lot, of planning that should be done. And so Monday was always our night to sit down and say, what do you have coming up this week? What do you have coming up this week? Kind of plan it out and be able to plan our time to help them with homework or to participate in, whatever events that they were involved in.
Get the calendar synced.
Totally.
I still do that to this day. My daughter the other day goes, "What are these dates?" I go, "They're important for you to know because I'm out of town on
Yeah.
those dates."
Yes.
We'll definitely talk about calendars later on.
I love
Yeah, I'm
that.
just stepping into that reality. Like I've been in the young kid stage, and now Hazel is
Thank you,
going
Seth.
she's going into kindergarten, and she has like a schedule now already. I'm like, okay, we're gonna have to schedule homework time, this and that. And then I think, oh, I have 3 more coming up there. This is gonna get crazy. The calendar is going to be nuts.
And is that not crazy that kindergartens have homework?
Yes, I'm like, we got a plan for all this.
I mean, I think my biggest decision in kindergarten was whether I was going to choose chocolate milk or regular milk. I mean, I
Yes.
don't recall ever taking any work home with me.
I got a funny story about my oldest, who's 26, lives in Orange County. We had a preschool at our church, and then we had a school, Valley Elementary. And she was going from preschool to Valley Elementary, and she had to take a test. And so I was driving her, and I could look in the mirror, and I saw that she was concerned. I go, "Taylor, are you okay?" She goes, "Well, Dad, I'm a little nervous about this test." Now she's 5,
Yeah.
and I'm, we're just
Wow.
talking, and I'm like going, "Well, honey, they should have prepared you in, preschool for your test." She goes, "Well, I'm not even in kindergarten, and why are they going to test me?" She had really logical thinking. And I go, "Honey," I go, "you've already known it." And we had a gal there, Mary Jo Harvey. And I go, "Well, Miss Mary Jo is going to ask you for your colors, and can you name them?" She named them. I go, "Count to 10. She counted to 10.
Yeah.
"Give me your days of the week." She gave them. I go, "You just passed your test." She goes, "No way." But it was funny because she was stressed about taking the.
And I went into Hazel's test stressed. I'm like, oh, I hope we prepared her. She's got her first test. I'm like, where's she going to fail? I'm a horrible parent. And then they come out and they're like, oh, she's so smart. She's way above her. And I'm like, oh, good. I didn't know that.
I still
it
get
was
stressed
terrifying.
about tests.
Terrifying.
I love it.
I thought I would never have to feel the stress of a test again. Now I'm going to have to feel it for each one of my
Oh,
kids.
yes.
Oh, gosh.
And then wait to ask you to help with math.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I tried that a couple during the pandemic. I tried to help one of my granddaughters with her homework, math homework. I confess I do not understand the new way of doing math. I'm not going to try to. I'm going to continue doing my way. I had to tell her, Grandpa cannot help you.
It's funny because I did buy into it because my wife has been a second grade teacher
Yes,
and
yeah.
principal, and and so I'll ask my wife to explain it to me, and she does a great job. And I go, "So you can't memorize things anymore?" She goes, "You can't do that." And I go, "So no one's going to be on to me if I just keep doing it the old way," because I went to school when the dinosaurs
Yes.
roamed the earth.
Just don't tell
When
anyone.
it was way more simple. But that's a whole different subject.
Yeah. we'll just keep using
can
2
rattle that.
plus 2 equals 4. That's
Yes.
our way of doing it.
Yes.
Don't tell anyone.
I like it. So you're on to the question.
Yeah,
there, Joe?
I want to jump into the question. I've waited 2 weeks to get to ask someone. I missed this. Something that someone that people in general don't know about you? So what's new? You guys just heard the sound effect. Something that people watching would go, I didn't know that about this guy. Something interesting. Let's go.
So I do have something that I thought of to answer that question, and most people, very few people, know that as a child I was in a child dance troupe, and I performed publicly.
Awesome.
I grew up in the Coachella Valley in Indio, California.
Very, very familiar with
I
that.
bet
the
you are.
Farming business.
Yes, I know where your wife works. So, or you work there.
Yes, son.
And so Indio, it's the date capital of the world.
Date capital of the world.
But growing up in Indio, I was part of a dance troupe that performed all over the Coachella Valley. And that's something that I never tell anybody today because...
Wow, because we're going to ask you guys, he's going to show us a performance.
I'm already hot. Now you're going to make me dance.
We're going to see this.
Well, Jim, you're going to be able to answer this. Isn't the Coachella Valley so much different than it was when you grew up?
It is. Very much so.
When my daughter was going to go to a concert in Coachella, I go, what's in Coachella?
Yeah.
She goes, the biggest country concert around. I go, last time I was in Coachella, it's hot and it's just got a lot of farmland. And she goes, no, it's got an amazing concert. And so my wife and I drove through there, and I was really impressed how they've really done the Indio, Coachella,
Coachella's the modern day Woodstock, basically.
Yes.
With
That's what I
different types of
absolutely.
music. It's so cool. It's a cool thing.
I was talking to one of my daughter's roommates, Haley, and she grew up there playing tennis, and she mentioned thermal, and the only impression that came to my mind with thermal is hot.
Yes.
I don't know if there's a hotter place on this planet than thermal.
Yeah, it's definitely hot. And I know I took my children, I moved to Bakersfield in 1976, so I was 13 or 14 years old when we got here. And after I had children of my own I'm thinking they were teenagers, I wanted to take them back to my hometown and show them where I grew up. I was amazed at how it had grown and morphed.
Changed.
Yeah.
Dramatically.
And grew up into a big city. We didn't have, here's another secret. When I lived in Indio, we didn't have a public bus system like a Get Bus system. Okay. But my mom worked for the school district, and we lived right across the street from the school bus barn. So the school bus system was my bus system. and I could be anywhere in the city and see a bus that was running empty and flag them down, put my bicycle on the bus, and ride back to the bus yard.
You developed the Get system back before it was developed.
You were the originator.
You probably couldn't even do that today due to liability.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure you could.
Well, Justin, I know something about Jim that no one else knows.
Oh, hit us.
Hit us about the tennis and the basketball.
What? That sounds like my avenue right now. What's going on?
I'm gonna wrap myself out.
He's gonna put me on the spot here, but he posted in a bio that I was gonna be on today, and that I had success in teaching both tennis and basketball. I play neither. So I saw that and I said, well, I don't know where that came from, but
it was my mistake, and it was left over from Jim's bio.
Oh,
from
it stayed on.
It was from not Jim, but John Bateau's.
Got you.
And I don't know where my head goes, but when I posted it, I also boosted the post, so you can't edit it.
Oh yeah, so it was out there.
So I imagine, Jim, that people are going to ask.
So if you have any basketball or tennis questions, send them in.
The first thing that came to mind when I saw that is that I have 3 sons and 1 daughter, and all of my boys play basketball.
Oh,
okay, so
and I'm thinking they're going to read that on my Facebook page, and they're going to say, "You never played basketball with us, Dad. We don't remember you ever coaching basketball." And so I made a comment back on the Facebook post to say I don't remember ever doing that, but I just wanted to clarify that there was some kind of mistake there, because folks, if you're looking for a coach for your tennis student, I'm probably not the guy.
Well, it's so interesting. Maybe I'm prophetic, and maybe you will be a basketball coach for your grandkids.
You never know.
You never know.
So to remind you guys, this is lunch break, and we're here with NBA legend Jim Luff, and we're gonna continue on. Okay.
I love it. it. I love it.
So let's get into some of the burning questions so our audience can get to know all the good that you are a part of.
Yes, sure.
And more about you, because that's what our show is about, is people getting to know resources locally in town. First on my list, I see, let's jump into charity. And there's a lot of charity work going on within you. So let us know. Fill us in.
So I got into charity. I'm involved in a lot of charity groups within the community, and we'll talk about that. But I think that probably the most interesting thing is how I got into charity. I got into charity in a way that I really didn't even realize it was charity at the time. But I was working for an accounting firm, Daniels, Phillips, Vaughn and Bach, where Pastor Tom's wife was working there as well.
Yep, she was a marketing director.
Okay.
And we had a computer division, and what my job in particular was to computerize people's accounting and operations. And I had a background being trained from IBM and came from computer land. So anyway, I became aware of this little girl by the name of Anna Jean Ferdinand. If you've lived in Bakersfield any time, you probably know that name, but it's been a long, long time. In the 90s, Anna Jean was pushing her mom's disabled car over the overcrossing of 99 on White Lane when a drunk driver tragically smashed her between her mom's disabled car and her pushing the car. It crushed her legs, and it was sensational news at the time that this DUI driver had caused so much trauma to Anna Jean. And I was really concerned about how Anna Jean was going to continue her education. And I thought to myself, if we can computerize businesses and make two different physical locations talk to each other, why could we not make Anna Jean's school computers talk to her computer at home? This was relatively new in the early 90s.
Yes.
This was not a normal thing like we do today. Mm-hmm. So I contacted IBM because we were an official dealer for IBM. I explained the program or the problem with this girl not being able to attend school, and IBM said, we will donate the computer and all of the technology to make this happen, including something called a T1 line, which is
back then
that was really very substantial, very expensive, but it allowed Anna Jean to create, to keep up with her schoolwork and
awesome.
to continue her education.
So you were an originator of distance learning.
Yeah,
kind of.
That's intense.
So the greatest thing that happened, two great things happened from that. One, Anna Jean was brought by Hall Ambulance, who donated that. I got to give them a plug too.
I like that.
Hall Ambulance brought Anna Jean on a gurney to Daniels, Phillips, Vaughn and Bach, where she was met by DPVB officials, myself, IBM officials, and presented this computer. Well, Anna Jean, and of course we had cameras like this, it was a very big moment. Mm-hmm. Anna Jean took her first steps off of that gurney and walked in front of that audience.
I love that.
It
Powerful
really
moment.
set me on fire.
Yeah.
And I realized that, I helped this girl, what else can I do? Mm. And that is really how it all began. Now, the second important thing that I wanted to share with that is that much later in life, as I continued doing charity work and working with foster children, Anna Jean became one of my biggest volunteers and champions, and paid it forward over and over.
Powerful.
Isn't that something, Jim? I love those moments because you experienced it.
Yeah.
And then you had that aha moment.
Right.
And you did it. And then it helped her, and then she came back. Those stories about turning something, in the Bible, we're saying God will cause these things to work for our good, but sometimes He uses people willing to do it. And you just stepped out. What was it? Your comfort zone back then? Was that something you had in your wheelhouse?
No.
And so that's also something you brought forward too, because you probably found something in yourself that wasn't there before, was there, but you just didn't have a chance to bring it forth.
Yeah, I think that I can tell you when I called my rep at IBM to say I want you to give this little girl a free computer, that back then PCs were still very expensive.
They were very expensive.
And I'm thinking, are these people just going to laugh at me and think that I'm completely insane for asking? Mm-hmm. So a lot of it was being naive, and not really even realizing what I could do by just asking. And while that was, a foray, if you will, into charity work. My next endeavor came at Mount Vernon Elementary, where my children attended elementary school.
That's right around from our East Brundage campus.
Yeah.
Yep, it sure is. And you know, as you know, the neighborhood is a impoverished neighborhood.
Yeah, definitely lower income.
And while my kids were attending Mount Vernon, they were given the opportunity in 6th grade to attend Camp Keep. And that's an educational program over on the coast.
I loved Camp Keep. I did the coast one too.
Okay,
Yes, that's
so
the one I did.
I learned that a lot of the kids that attended Mount Vernon were being excluded from Camp Keep because they didn't have the funds to go. And, you know, you're not going to spend taxpayer money on that, I guess. I don't know. But once I found out about that, I'm like, this is not right. And like, how could I raise money for all of these kids that can't afford to go? And with that came the birth of the Mount Vernon annual spaghetti night for families.
I love the origination of
Spaghetti
stories.
night, that's so
Now this, again, I had no experience with this. I asked the principal if, let me back up a minute. I talked to my friend George Bowden, God rest his soul. George was a chef, or the guy that ran the kitchen on an Arco ship while the ship is out to sea for 4 months at a time. So I was just sharing with George, you know, my dilemma, and George is like, hey, let's do a spaghetti dinner. I can cook a lot of spaghetti really cheap. We'll go to Costco, buy some lettuce, throw a little oil and vinegar on it, call it good.
Spaghetti and salad.
We'll take hot dog buns, we'll cut them in half, we'll cut them in quarters. There's your garlic bread, a little garlic salt, a little butter, we're good to go. So then I had to go to the principal, and they had to go to the cafeteria, and then I went to talk to the cafeteria lady, and she said, well, I'd have to come back at night and work after hours. And I said, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's supposed to deter me?
So you'll have to come back. Do you want me to give you money, or like, what do you want me to do? But I need you to come back because they won't let me have your cafeteria, even though I'm bringing George in to cook. Mm-hmm. They allowed that. They probably wouldn't allow that anymore either. Yeah. But anyway, finishing it up real quick, we created an annual spaghetti night, and those kids that couldn't afford to go to Camp Keep were asked to come and serve as servers and help in the kitchen and earn their way to Camp Keep.
You know,
Oh, so good.
you know, it's almost like a little bit of social justice
Yeah.
taken into your hands, and you saw something, but you didn't expect anybody else to do it. You did it.
Yes, that, and even in your first two stories so far, I've noticed that you saw a need and you did something about it. So many of us think about so many good ideas, but I think the biggest thing is you moved forward and did something about it. And look what it turns into.
I do want to say, if you're watching this show right now, if you're listening to this and you have an idea, don't ever be intimidated and think that you can't do it, because everything that I did from the beginning till now, I'm never really sure I can make it happen, but you don't know if you don't try.
You know, I agree so much. Our first guest was James Burton. Remember, James said his grandfather, was it his grandfather that took him into a graveyard and says,
Yes.
there is dreams buried out there that never were fulfilled. And it just it's inspired me to this day. But that's what you're saying to our audience. Yeah. So if you're out there in any condition, you get an idea. It just takes a little bit of initiative, and you might find a gift that you didn't have.
I want it this month because I work closely with John L. Ward, who does Kicks for Kids, and he started his charity. And 4 years ago, we did our first one, 100-something shoes, right, to kids. To this Saturday, we're doing like 1,200 shoes. My living room is full right now.
I can imagine.
1,200 shoes, 500 something in Ventura, 500 something here in town.
Love it.
Crazy. And it started with John L. having that dream and vision. I remember looking at that dude and going, "You're crazy.
Oh, I remember that.
I don't know how this is gonna happen." And then now it's all happening. So it just reminds me of your story of you just have to do it. Your dream, the vision that you're given should be bigger than anything you can imagine, and you just act on it.
You brought other people in. You brought your friend who was able to does amazing food preparation on a ship.
Yes.
Give him some stable ground and let him help you. And I always believe in teamwork.
I do too. I'm going to take a opportunity right now to plug one of my own Facebook pages.
Absolutely.
It's called
Please do
The
so.
Charity Squad on Facebook.
I love
So
that.
if you're a Bakersfield resident and you want to help out in charity of any kind, please visit the Charity Squad on
Yeah,
Facebook
Charity Squad.
and add your name. So if you're an event producer and you need food servers, you need cleanup people, you need setup people, you go to the Charity Squad page and you can pull from, I believe we have 400 volunteers on the site now.
Wow,
love that.
what a
What an
resource.
amazing
Charity
resource.
Squad. That is
So-
perfect. Thank you.
I created the Charity Squad because I'm involved in so many events, and one of the biggest problems that we have is finding volunteers.
Of course.
And so
Church is the same way.
struggle.
I said, oh, if I give people a forum to come and register and say, I want to help, then I don't have to go and beg people and say, will you please? I do feel like when my friends see me coming,
They know.
they either feel like I'm sorry guys, I'm sorry. They either feel like I've got my hand out and I'm going to ask them for a sponsorship of something, or I'm going to ask them for sweat equity to come out and help with an event. And I'm sorry, that's just who I am.
Yeah.
But Jim,
It's not
do
for
you-
yourself, though.
Do you find that, it's not for yourself.
Yes.
It's for others. But do you ever get because we do, we get to be on the side of people when they go out and serve, they come back and say, that was more for me
Yeah.
than it was for that. Do you get those stories that are coming back from the Charity Squad?
On occasion, I have members of the Charity Squad that have a particular incident or event happen to them during the course of volunteering. One that comes to mind right away is somebody that was volunteering for an event involving foster children who, heard a horrific story from a child who told her that nobody wants her and that she stays in emergency foster care because nobody wants her. And this lady and that child had such a bonding moment that was so inspirational for that lady who had really donated her time to work one event in the foster care world and then immersed herself for life in serving foster kids.
It's got a purpose.
So yeah, it does happen, of course, where people are moved.
Yeah.
I'm moved all the time.
Yeah, you know what? And I think that is in something that we get to do as a church, or you get to do as one of your nonprofits, is that when you are passionate about something, it's like you throw your whole self into it.
Yes.
And as other people do it, you'll see them catch on. I've got a friend, Mike Green, and he helped me out with a funeral one time, and was for a girl that was killed over in Vegas when they had the shooting, and heard the stories about the affection between a mom and a daughter. He and his wife decided to have a child, and so he shared that one time, and it touches people, touches their families, because you should be moved by things like that. And I think a human spirit allows you to feel that stuff. And I always tell people, I go, I'm just going to give you opportunity to connect. Where you connect's up to you.
Right. And I am going to say that because we are on a faith-based program here, that I do consider all of the work that I do to be the Lord's work.
I love that.
I do believe that I am motivated and moved by the Spirit often to do what I do. So I can't always take credit for all
Take
my
the credit,
ideas,
yes.
because I think I get inspired by a higher source, and I almost no, I do view it as a calling. I view it as something that I have the skill set to do, and it is what God wants me to do, and I do it well. I hope.
Amen.
I hope.
But you know
Well,
what?
you're doing a great
what
job.
I tell people, and I'll tell the audience here, and they hear me say it from the pulpit or wherever I'm at, is that God chooses to use people. He has. So in you saying that, there's another side of this called obedience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because people can get ideas, like James Burton saying his grandpa said in the graveyard, there's many dreams that never fulfilled. But the thing as far as moving out in it is I think sometimes a very substantial part of the piece of the puzzle.
Yes.
Because you have to step out on
A
vision.
lot of people get the calling. Not everyone answers.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what it is.
So as
I'm too afraid.
so as you do it, I mean, I'd say kudos to you.
Yes.
I would say kudos.
Thank
to
you.
I like it. So the other things you're
So
involved
many.
with is I love the Kern County 911 Dispatchers Recognition Program. I'm a chaplain for the Bakersfield City Fire Department, and we have a new thing called 911 at Ease. So it covers all the, I'm going to give a plug to that, because it covers all of the first responders. I'm the chaplain of that board. It's an international company. But it's such a group that are there when people need them at sometimes
Yeah.
the worst point in
Yeah.
the time. And there's no recognition sometimes
No.
on that side of it.
No, and it's so I am married to a Bakersfield Fire Department dispatch supervisor.
Oh, wow.
She's been on the job for 22 years with the city. And I'll tell you how that dispatcher recognition thing came up. I didn't create that. Someone else did many years ago, but the very first year, my wife came home from work one day and she said, "Hey, they're having a dispatcher recognition dinner at the Veterans Hall over at the traffic circle, and I bought us tickets. They were only $20. And I said, so you bought yourself a ticket to recognize yourself? Like, that just seems weird. She said, well, we can't use, government taxpayer dollars, so we have to self-fund. And I said, okay, I get it. So we go to the event. The event, I'm sorry, for those of you who were there the first time, was so cheesy. We had people barbecuing like burgers and hot dogs on hibachi barbecue grills. We had people that brought their home barbecue grills, their whatever, barbecuing up burgers. And the event itself was just, I didn't feel worthy of the recognition and praise that 911 operators deserve. So I went to her boss, who did organize the thing. He's not her boss anymore. I'd be afraid to tell the story. But I said, next year, assuming you're going to do year number 2, I would like to be involved in the planning. I would like to get corporate sponsors to sponsor this, and I would like to serve a classy meal, not barbecued home hamburgers. And I want it to be an elegant affair. And so, long story longer, we grew from that Veterans Center. We moved out, I believe, first to the Bayou, which is a rental hall on like 18th or 19th. Grew up. We improved the food quality. They told me, her boss told me, you're not going to get people to sponsor this. And I said, I will. There's companies like Jim's Towing that you guys work with all the time.
Yeah.
They will sponsor. We moved from the Bayou. Outgrew that, moved to Stockdale Country Club, outgrew that, eventually moved to Crystal Palace, taking over both floors.
Wow.
And it morphed into an event. Let me tell you, the first year of that event, first through third year, none of the chiefs came. Shame on you. We had no support from upper brass. Now, as we moved on, every single agency had a dispatcher of the year for their agency, whether it was,
So cool.
Bakersfield Police, Kern Sheriff, and their chief or their sheriff, whatever, was there to present their dispatcher. Really became a big deal.
So, sometimes it's about taking an idea and saying, how can I get some more recognition to it, and then bring other people in, because there are other people out there that can have a passion, but it takes an ignite.
And it's important.
It takes someone like you to get that going.
Yeah.
And so I love what you're doing.
My wife came home from work the other day. She posted on Facebook during her work day, that's 15 minutes of my life I'll never get back. It was vague. When she came home, I asked her, what was that about? She said, for 15 minutes, a guy yelled at me. He called me filthy, vile, disgusting names. He told me I was the worst 911 dispatcher ever born on the planet Earth. And she said, and I'll never get my life back. And she said, but, I'll never get those 15 minutes back. But she was the 4th operator that he had berated that day, 4th 911 operator. So really, what I do for the 911 operators, that was warranted. They earned it.
I agree with you, Jim, 100%.
Hey, can we talk about John L. Shoes?
Oh, I love to talk about John L. How the whole thing with John L. came out. The whole thing came to me is John L. had this idea. So Pastor Ron came to me. He goes, Tom, would you kind of like get in with John L.? And I did. Mm-hmm. So I got in with John L. and I looked him in the eyeballs. I said, what's the idea? And he gave me the idea, and I go, no, this is bigger than you. It's bigger than you. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like something God's into. And I go, I will stay with you for a year. I said, but you got to get somebody else after that. And he got you. Mm-hmm. But I told him, I go, this is worthy. What you're attempting to do is very worthy.
Oh, yeah.
He had a passion for it. You could see the spark in his eye, like I do yours. The flame in his his expressions, and just the whole. When he talks about shoes for foster kids, he lights up.
Yes.
And all I was is I just channeled him, and then I
Yep.
There's a lot of times I'll be at our church. I'm just a connector. I tell people if they don't know Jesus, I connect them to Jesus. If they know Jesus, I connect them to other people. And so I'm like you. Sometimes I'm like, I can't help you, but I'm going to figure out who can.
Right.
So cool. And I want to shout out our tech. We had a small issue with Facebook. It was down. It's back up. You guys, it's rolling. So you can like and share again to close out this lunch break on Facebook. So go ahead and do that. But Jonell's shoes. It's been an amazing part to be a part of that experience. How much do you know about it? I know you're.
So first of all, I mean, I think it's important to note that while this does benefit children, that Jonell himself was a foster child.
Yes,
he was.
and that's why the vision.
You know that for somebody who actually walked in those shoes, no pun intended, you obviously have a much deeper appreciation for clothing and shoes and things that most kids just expect and take for granted. But what I really wanted to share is that so I'm the president of an organization called CARE, which is Children's Advocates Resource Endowment. And CARE gives grants to organizations that serve children. I want Jonell to apply for a $10,000 grant from the CARE Foundation so that we can get more shoes to your organization.
Awesome.
I love it.
So, and anybody else that serves children that's listening, you can go to our website, careforkids.org. That's care and then FOR kids.org and fill out an application and we'll give you up to $10,000. You must be a bona fide 501c3. But, the CARE Foundation, most people know it as Village Fest. And Village Fest originally started as Brews on the Roof.
I remember that.
Now, what it was really, and let me give props to Ralph Frugaletti, the owner of Frugatti's, and Rick Peace, who were the original founders. And it was just a small little, the intention was we're going to bring in 10 craft beers and charge people to sample beers. And then we're going to donate the money to this organization that was putting on a street fair.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't last, but we did. But in year 2, we had our second event up on the roof, and so many people came to it that we were shut down in the middle of the event because we caused the Bank of America parking structure to sway.
I think I heard about this.
With the amount of weight that was dancing to the band that we had. We had one band, I think we paid them like $300. It was like just not really that big a thing. But so many people came to it, we had to move.
Wow.
Shook the structure.
Yes. And so we moved to Pioneer Village, which or the Kern County Museum, whatever you want to call it. And we became Brews in the Village. But as time went on, we morphed into a food festival, a music festival. We have 17 bands that play. We have 35 different local restaurants that are there. We do have beer and wine, but it's not just a beer and wine festival. Hence, we changed the name to be Village Fest to reflect more of what we are. But we raised through that event $180,000 in one single night and donate 100% of it back to children's charities. So we would love to buy some shoes.
I love that. The Jonell, if you're not tuned in, you text him.
Yes, I will have Jonell fill that out immediately.
Jim, tell us about the League of Dreams, because I see the shirt on.
Sure.
I'd love to hear about that.
So I'm also the president of the League of Dreams, which is an adaptive sports league. We organize games like baseball games, basketball, bowling for handicapped or disabled kids. Our kids run bases using walkers, wheelchairs, crutches, anything they can. Every kid is, you can see it on the picture there. Yep. We have Mayor Go there. We're at our basketball tryouts. That's our executive director, Jessica Matthews, my granddaughter, Paris, and myself. We have tryouts, but I want to let you know that the tryouts are really, every child gets to play, but the tryouts help us place kids on an equal level. Every kid wears a uniform, just like you would in a real sports team, and we believe that every child deserves a chance to play. Now, let me tell you a little bit about how I became the president, because somewhere along the way of my charity work, my wife and I had a little head bumping where she said, I'm spending too much time alone. You're always at a committee meeting, you're at a fundraising event, you're this, you're that. So I said, I'm going to back down. I'm not going to serve on any more boards. And Jessica Matthews invited me to her office to show me this new video that she had produced. You can check out the video on YouTube. Just Google or YouTube League of Dreams. And I watched the video, and I'm not kidding. At the end of the video, I had tears in my eyes. I mean, just what I saw brought tears to my eyes. And she looked at me and she said, I need a board member. And I said, I'll do it. So I served on the board for 2 years before being elevated to the position of president, but I came home and told my wife, I had to make one more exception, just one. And she's like, what? So I told her what League of Dreams was. Just watched her face. Like, what could she say?
Yeah.
And so, you know, today my wife is probably one of the biggest supporters of League of Dreams that I know. At our last fundraiser, she single-handedly did a bid on an auction item of $2,000. I nearly died. But, you know, when you're up on the stage and you're running something, you can't say, honey, what are you doing?
Disregard that. The auctioneer. So that would literally cost you.
Yeah, that literally cost me.
I love that. Do you find, now this is good, do you find that with her involved with the League of Dreams, it makes it easier to serve? Because sometimes my wife and I will do something together, and it brings us to that. You know, if you're talking, you know, togetherness for couples, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I think that that married couples should participate in things together. I also, you know, want to say I think it's very important, equally important, that you have separate hobbies and separate activities for a good, healthy marriage. I mean, you can't be Siamese twins, but it certainly makes it easier, especially if I, you know, have to tell her that I have to go to a board meeting. And I will say that my wife is very active herself. She serves as the vice president of an organization called Public Safety Professionals Retreat. And there are times in our house where we're both on Zoom meetings, in board meetings. And so we support each other, and we both know that we're doing good work.
It should be like that. Jim, I mean, I want to shake your hand.
Sure.
Yes,
I mean,
same here.
What
Awesome
you're
work
doing is
doing.
amazing.
Thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to leave our audience with? Was there like a something motivating you? I know you're a believer and you're doing your work for the Lord, but was there like a quote that inspired you, or a mentor, or somebody that had that role in your life?
Yeah, I think that there's actually many people that have influenced me along the way, but I'm going to say, first of all, my mom. My mom was always very involved in the community when we grew up in the Coachella Valley, and I saw her do that, and I've always seen my mom as being a helper and somebody that liked to help. And I had an 8th grade English teacher by the name of Gayla Pentland. I don't know where she is today, but she really inspired me to be all I can be. And I can't remember any particular words, but I definitely remember it started with me having a schoolboy crush on my English teacher.
That's
so
awesome.
I would go and visit her in her classroom after school was over because I had a crush on her. But she fed me with very powerful information, and really was one that told me, you can be anybody you want to be, you can do anything you want to do if you set your mind to it. So that might be the quote. And then, you know, as far as how I live my personal life, I think it's really important that you set boundaries in your life, and a good calendar system is key. So my priorities in life at this stage are 10 grandchildren and putting their events on my calendar. Piano recitals, drama things, sports games, anything like that takes priority over anything else.
Amen.
And, you know, sometimes I'm not at one of my own events for one of my charities because I am with my children, and that's where I'm going to be. The other thing is, at 5 o'clock every day, I stop working. I work from home. I have a home office. I never walk back in my office after 5 p.m. That's my time and the time of my wife.
I like that.
Good for you.
Jim, I think you might be one of the most informative guests.
Yes, this is a good.
Yeah,
this,
not
this
to
show
take
is
away
a
from
great resource.
not taking away from any of the other guests.
Yes, this is
but
a
you
great
have,
resource.
Jim. You're inspiring.
Thank
me,
you.
my friend. You
And
really are.
the last two things I would say is every day take time for God, take time to pray. I start every morning in prayer. I end every evening in prayer. And, you know, a lot of that is morning prayers. I feel like I get inspired in what I'm going to do that day. And the end of the day is certainly giving thanks for everything. And the other thing I'm going to say is, if you are married, it is so important to set aside time for you and your spouse, alone time, to do, you know, whatever it is that attracted you to each other when you first met.
Amen.
I do. Jim, thank you,
Thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you for having me.
This is Lunch Break. Share this with some friends. Inspire
Please.
them, you guys. Thanks
Yes.
for watching. This is Encourage Media.
Production, there again, thanking Seth Parker, Mike Harvey, our producers, Tessa and Taylor Touchstone, our creative directors. So guys, enjoy your day.
See you later. This was Lunch Break.
Bye, all.